It's showing now, Jennifer.
It is. Great. Okay. Wonderful. So thank you so much for having me this evening. I was actually supposed to join you all about a year ago, and we had a small tropical event head into our area, and Hurricane Dorian took over and your meeting was canceled, and I spent a few days in an emergency operations center preparing for that tropical event, which luckily didn't amount to too much. And here we all are with a different type of event that's impacting all of us. But I'm very pleased to let you know that Everglades restoration has not slowed down in the slightest during this era of coronavirus. We have been really engaged, and I'm excited to tell you about some of the progress that the Water Management District has made during this time. So you're all aware of the problem that we are looking to solve with Everglades restoration. And it's not just the disrupted Everglades, but it's the disrupted Everglades and all of the changes to the ecosystem that come with that. And so in our effort to live in South Florida and enjoy the things that are here, we have inadvertently really altered not just the historic flow of water to the Everglades, but have also altered how the ecosystem reacts, its resiliency, and its ability to heal itself. And in 2000, a solution was born. And the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan, which is a 50-50 partnership between the federal government and the state government, was born. And although there's been some progress over the 20 years since that plan was authorized, we really started making some very significant progress in the recent past with Governor DeSantis. Governor DeSantis was in office for less than 48 hours, and he announced a historic water policy reform, created the Blue-Green Algae Task Force, and gave direction to the South Florida Water Management District and other state agencies to expedite dozens of crucial environmental restoration projects, including the EAA reservoir, the C43 and C44 reservoirs, the Old Tamiami trail removal, and 24 additional projects that are part of his 29 priority projects that we are expediting. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about several of those projects tonight. So the first one is the Kissimmee River restoration, and I actually had the opportunity to be out on this project today, which was fabulous. So I was out on the floodplain today, and the river channel is in amazing shape. The Corps of Engineers is finishing up this project this year, and the floodplain was actually a full 2 miles wide. I saw several pairs of snail kite, lots of different species of birds. Didn't see any alligators, but the river is pretty deep. And it was just wonderful to be out and see some of these restoration indicators for this project. And this project we like to think of as the proof of concept that restoration really can work. You can see the before picture of the C38 canal that changed the Kissimmee River into a drainage canal. And on the bottom photo is the after effects of backfilling that canal and putting the wiggle back into the Kissimmee River. Those photographs of the birds are not nearly as great as the bird of the month photographs, but those are real photographs from the Kissimmee River, and it's an excellent place to see the wildlife thriving in this restored area now. In addition to the Kissimmee River, kind of moving clockwise around the map, we have the Indian River Lagoon South project. And this is a suite of projects that includes storage and water treatment, as well as a natural lands component that restores existing and altered wetland areas and creates habitat back in those areas. And so several of these projects are currently underway, including the C44 reservoir and stormwater treatment area. The reservoir is currently under construction by the Corps of Engineers and is scheduled to complete late next year. And the stormwater treatment area is currently under construction by the South Florida Water Management District. And here are some photographs of the STA progress. We are completing cell 6 of 6. The other 5 have already been filled. And cell 6 will be complete this calendar year. One thing that we did at this stormwater treatment area that's a new innovation for us is we started an aquatic plant nursery. Several of our scientists decided to try this. It's working fabulously, and we are actually growing our own plants to then replant in the other cells of this stormwater treatment area. And we plan to use this method in some of our other stormwater treatment areas that are also under construction. We also have the Loxahatchee River Watershed Restoration Project. This is a really important project for this area to restore the flows to the Loxahatchee River. That's a federally designated wild and scenic river that I'm sure many of you enjoy. And this project is ready for authorization by Congress. We're hoping to see it in the Water Resources Development Act. It is in the draft that was passed by Congress earlier, well, I guess it's last month now, in August. And so we're looking for the Senate to also approve this project. On the western side of Lake Okeechobee, along the Caloosahatchee River, is the Caloosahatchee Reservoir. This is another very large reservoir. This will help to alleviate the fresh water that is released into the Caloosahatchee River and out into the estuary. The Water Management District has this under construction, and it is scheduled to be completed by 2023. We are also working with partners all across the state in order to study water quality components, and our water quality feasibility study is scheduled to be complete this November, and we are looking forward to having a public workshop to discuss the results of that feasibility study in late November or early December of this year. South of the lake, you may have seen a lot of very exciting news recently about the EAA Reservoir project and stormwater treatment area. The stormwater treatment area is under construction now by the South Florida Water Management District. And in fact, we just started blasting on this project on Friday. And the reason that that's necessary is that in order to dig the canals that will convey the water to the stormwater treatment area and the reservoir, the limestone rock that is underneath the agricultural fields is so dense that it needs to be blasted in order to make way for the canals. And so that work started on Friday, and it will be ongoing in the coming months as that stormwater treatment area goes under construction. And so we're excited about that. We're also excited about several other efforts that are underway to continue moving the water south. And so as the water is cleaned and moved south, there are several barriers to getting it into Everglades National Park and into Florida Bay. And some of those include the old Tamiami Trail. You'll see that picture in the upper right-hand corner, as well as Tamiami Trail as we know it today. And there is substantial bridging. The picture that you see on this slide was completed in 2019. Additional bridging was completed, is under construction currently, and will be completed in 2021. In addition to those, the S333 North structure, you see it under construction in this photo, is an additional pump station structure that will move water from the Central Everglades underneath the Tamiami Trail and into Everglades National Park so that it can also rehydrate Florida Bay. And so I have a couple of, these are before photos for 333 North. That project is nearly complete. And this is a picture taken a couple weeks ago. That project will be complete by the end of this month, and we'll be able to start flowing water through this structure. This will double the capacity for water to enter the canal that's along the Tamiami Trail and enter Everglades National Park. And Old Tamiami Trail, that removal is in progress. What's going on right now is that the electrical lines that have run along that old road bed have been removed by Florida Power and Light. And you can see the water that is just waiting to enter Everglades National Park. Once that road is removed, the water's actually quite high right now. And so the contractor is finishing up work to be prepared to be able to actually remove all of that roadbed as soon as the water recedes. So we're looking at that really getting underway probably in the November timeframe. And by next wet season, that road will no longer be a barrier to Everglades National Park and Everglades restoration. In addition to the comprehensive Everglades restoration plan, there are additional things that the Water Management District is doing in order to restore the Everglades and restore the ecosystems that we have here in South Florida. Some of those things include dispersed water management projects. And here are some examples that we have of our dispersed water management projects. What these projects do are store basin runoff, volumes of water that would otherwise enter our flood protection system and would require additional freshwater discharges to the estuaries. Instead, landowners park this water on their land and allow it to evaporate, seep into the ground, or be released later after initial high volume runoff is complete within our system. Another type of project that we have are additional stormwater treatment areas. I'm having trouble advancing the slide at the moment. There we go. And so here's an example of some of the Northern Everglades stormwater treatment areas that we have. These are smaller stormwater treatment areas than some of the larger ones that are being constructed as part of SERP, but they're still important. And these are in basins that have very high nutrient levels. And so we tailor these projects to be very specific to sub-basins that we can address the water quality challenges in those basins themselves before those waters enter larger receiving water bodies like Lake Okeechobee. We are also completing, as part of the governor's initiatives, our restoration strategies program. And this is a very large water quality program that incorporates a series of stormwater treatment areas as well as conveyance improvements. And this slide shows some of the conveyance improvements that we are doing along the Bulls Canal. And this will allow us to redistribute water between the major canals, like the North New River and the Hillsborough canals, and the stormwater treatment areas in order to treat the highest volume of water and be able to move it south into the Everglades. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, well, remember to put your questions in the Q&A. I've noticed that some of you are both putting it in the chat in the Q&A, which is okay, because I have access to both, so I can see them both. Real quickly, I wanted to allow you to see the photo that I had of Miss Jennifer. Let me get that up real quickly, and let me share that. Okay.
Well, that's a much better picture of me anyway than I look today, since I was out in the field. And
okay. So you see the two photos. Of course, the one on the right is the one I was referring to of her receiving the award during the Audubon Assembly, and that's the Audubon Florida president, Julie Rathmill, and Celeste De Palma, who recently resigned from Audubon, Florida to return to graduate school. But she hopes to be back when she's completed her studies, and we hope to see her again. But you see then Colonel Reynolds in her, looks like her full dress uniform. You look great.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome. All right, so let's get to the questions and the Q&A, in both the Q&A and the chat. So let's do that, and I will stop sharing that screen because for some reason it knocked out my chat as soon as I shared that. Okay, now I can see the chat again. Good. Okay. All right, let's see. So, wait, where is the chat? I don't know why that disappeared. Okay, here it is. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. Can you give us more detail about Loxahatchee River restoration?
So Loxahatchee is currently going to be authorized, we expect, in the Word of 2020. And so once that is authorized, then we'll be able to start construction on that. The next step will be signing a project partnership agreement with the Corps and moving forward on the specific elements of Loxahatchee. And so we are projecting on starting construction on that in the next couple of years. So I think it's been a long time coming, and I know a lot of people are really looking forward to it.
Okay, some more questions, and these will be a little bit out of order at times. It'll seem they'll kind of be going back and forth. What do you think of the PBS series on the Everglades? I don't know if you've seen that, Jennifer.
I don't know if I have. I've seen a couple of different series about the Everglades, but if you can help me remember which one that is, then I might be able to, or maybe, what are your thoughts on it?
This series, I'm trying to remember the name of the series. I know it was replayed recently. I saw it when it first came on in 2018. And it's a 6-part series and basically takes you through the Everglades, explaining the Everglades, explaining the restoration work that's going on, some of the issues involved.
Oh, great.
interviews with actually many people that we've had as presenters, like Paul Gray was
Okay.
there. But anyway, it's a great series, and I do recommend it. So let's go on to some other questions.
Yeah, that is a great series.
What do you think we will be able to when do you think we will be able to take Lake Okeechobee water from the lake, treat it, and send it south?
Well, we are sending some lake water south now. So some lake water is sent south, treated in the stormwater treatment areas that are part of restoration strategies, and sent south. With the construction of the EAA reservoir, that volume will greatly increase. Okay. And so we really need the stormwater treatment area and the reservoir itself in order to substantially increase the amount of water sent south from the lake.
And how responsive are the farmers to the need to capture the harmful effluvia from their operations?
So by law, the farmers that are in the Everglades agricultural area have to follow certain best management practices on their farms. They are inspected by both Florida Department of Agriculture, Rural and Consumer Services, as well as the South Florida Water Management District, to ensure that they're in compliance with their permits and with their best management practices. And so they are quite responsive to that. They're very proud of the amount of reductions that they are achieving. They have met or exceeded their goals for reductions as outlined by their permits and by law every year since those have been put in place. And so those farmers are quite proud of the work that they've done. And so I hope that answers the question. So I think they're pretty responsive to what's required of them.
Okay. There was actually a couple of questions on this, and I guess this is probably because of the news article that came out, I think, about a month ago. Can you comment on the use of herbicides and the concern by individuals of excess use in the Kissimmee River and the surrounding lakes?
So there's been a lot of public meetings about herbicides, and we work with the other state and federal agencies in order to make sure that any herbicides that we are using are targeted specifically for the plants that we are trying to reduce. We are very careful to make sure that the amount of herbicides that are applied are the very minimum necessary in order to do the work that's done, in order to make sure that the invasive exotic species don't destroy the hard work that we are all doing to restore the environments and the ecosystems that our projects are working on. So it's a huge issue, and we are working very hard to make sure that we are limiting the use, that we're using only the amount necessary, and that it's being and that it's being applied in a very targeted way.
So this is kind of a related question to some of the others about Lake O and use of pesticides and release from farms. What is being done to prevent algae blooms in Lake O so that discharges don't pollute the freshwater estuaries that receive Lake O discharges?
Yeah, so really all of Everglades restoration is working toward that goal. That is one of the symptoms of an unhealthy environment. And so it's not just herbicides, but it's also all of the nutrients that come out of all the things that humans do, from septic to agricultural runoff to urban runoff to fertilizers that we use in our landscaping. All of those things play a part. And that's why the quantity, quality, timing, and distribution of water is so important. And all of those types of activities that humans contribute to the environment are part of the reason why quality is such an important part of Everglades restoration.
Okay, thank you. And so still more questions, if hopefully you have the time. What is the status of projected toll roads proposed to cross, I think it's crisscross the state? And I don't know if that's necessarily in the greater Everglades area, but perhaps this is talking about the toll roads, I guess perhaps either out of Orlando or the project that is in the western part of the state.
Yeah, so the Water Management District doesn't have the direct responsibility for permitting the roads. We are sometimes consulted by other state agencies when it has to do with areas that may have restoration projects or those kinds of things within the footprint. But the status of those things would probably be best answered by one of the other state agencies, either DEP or Department of Transportation. So I'm sorry, I don't know a better answer for you on that.
Okay, this is another discharge question, an interesting one. And they're asking, last year about this time, there were discharges from Lake O that were causing a terrible problem in the St. Lucie River, green slime in the marinas. This year, no green slime problem. Is it because the discharges have stopped?
I think that's certainly likely part of it. There have been a lot fewer freshwater releases from either the basin or from Lake Okeechobee this year. I don't think we had as many problems last year as we certainly did in 2018. That was the really slimy year. And so certainly not having releases from Lake Okeechobee has made a difference.
Okay. You mentioned, I know in your presentation concerning funding for restoration from Congress. The question is there any chance the current federal administration could stall or curtail some of these projects? And if so, why or why not?
I think any of the projects, well, all of the projects are reliant on both state and federal funding. And so the amount of funding that is received on both the state and federal sides really makes a difference in how well we are able to execute the projects on the timeline as planned. One of the things that is upcoming in the next month is the public workshop on the integrated delivery schedule. So the Corps of Engineers is going to host that public workshop, I believe, in October. And the integrated delivery schedule is the outline of the plan against the calendar for when the Everglades projects will be completed. And so that that'll show you, it's updated every year by the Corps with input from the Water Management District, and we take a look at our current levels of funding and what's needed in order to finish the projects. And then we take input from the other agencies and help people to understand what the timeline looks like and how much funding is required.
A question on the EAA. Does the EAA gain or lose phosphorus each year? Could this reduce the use of fertilizers?
I'm not sure what, I'm not sure I understand the question about gaining or losing phosphorus.
Could
Certainly inputs from the Everglades agricultural area runoff, the runoff has high levels of phosphorus, too high for the Everglades, and that's why we clean that water in the stormwater treatment areas.
right, and I think the questioner meant, so does the, could reducing this use, use of, so I'm not clear what, they could reduce this use of fertilizers. So I'm not, anyway, well, let's go on to the next question. What is the current situation with the dikes? Do you get pressured to release water to alleviate the situation with the dikes?
So the Corps of Engineers is responsible for lake releases from the Lake Okeechobee, and they are remediating the Herbert Hoover Dike. That work is scheduled to be complete in 2022. So when levels are high in the lake, then the Corps is required to release water in order to maintain flood protection to keep the people that live and work around the lake safe.
Okay,
and
great.
that work that they are doing will allow a reevaluation of the risk. And they are currently working on the Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual, so a new schedule for the lake that will help determine when releases are required.
Okay, and there's a question in terms of the cooperation from, and I think you may have answered this partly, from farmers who are, of course, releasing water from their properties that eventually end up in Lake Okeechobee and in the canals. And so are they, how cooperative are they in terms of, and how receptive are they to the needs of the quality of water that is necessary to be discharged?
In my experience in working in the Everglades, nearly everyone is cooperative and wanting to be part of the solution. But it gets to be challenging with how people can be part of the solution, and whether that's urban areas or agricultural areas or runoff from any kind of landscape, runoff from every kind of landscape other than restored natural areas increases the level of nutrients. So runoff from where people live, from farming, from ranches, from golf courses, from roadways, from septic fields, all of those increase the nutrients in our water and in the system. And so everyone needs to be part of the solution. And my experience has been that people are willing to be part of the solution, but agencies and organizations need to help fund those solutions, because it's unreasonable for anyone to have to commit too large of a portion of that funding individually. And so as we work together and figure out ways to make projects optimize the land available and optimize the opportunities to clean the water, I think people will come together and be able to create the solutions needed.
Okay, and this is probably a clarification to the question I asked earlier, but of course the phosphorus that resides in the soils. So is there effort to reduce the amount of phosphorus actually entering the soil? And you may have answered that, I'm not sure, Jennifer. But is
There
there any?
is, so this is kind of the concept of source control versus legacy phosphorus. And this is a really challenging issue in South Florida because we have a lot of nutrients that are in our soil that have kind of built up over time. So they're in our soils and in our water bodies, as well as new nutrients that are coming in every time it rains and water runs off the populated landscape. And so our efforts in the projects and activities and programs that we are implementing address both those issues, both source control as well as regional type projects that can help clean up the existing nutrients that are already in our water bodies and our soils.
Okay. This is an interesting question. Do you know what happened to the human population along the old Tamiami Trail?
So the old Tamiami Trail was replaced by the current US 40 highway. So the new Tamiami Trail really just superseded the old Tamiami Trail. The old Tamiami Trail is now part of what is the Miccosukee Reservation property, as well as part of it is on Everglades National Park property.
Okay.
And interestingly, actually to add to that, interestingly, the old Tamiami Trail was designated as a historical site. And so upon completion of the construction to remove the old Tamiami Trail, part of that project that Everglades National Park is embarking on is a interpretive center that will tell a little bit of the story of the old Tamiami Trail and how that area was settled. And there'll be a kiosk and some interpretive information there.
Okay. That would be great, actually. So Fran Reich Preserve in West Boca has become a popular birding location. And there's a question whether there's any plans to create public access there, more public access areas in that area.
I don't know anything about that location, so I'll have to find out, and I'd be happy to get back with you.
That would be wonderful. Let's see if I have it. Is there a list available of the species being grown in the aquatic plant nursery?
There is. I don't have it offhand, but again, I'd be happy to put you in contact with our scientists that are running that.
Great.
And I'm sure they would be more than willing to share abundant information about it. They're very excited about that project.
That's great. And you have some great scientists, by the way, and some of them have been presenters for us, and they're just wonderful. Could you give specifics on the impact of SERP on Western Palm Beach County? If you have any insight into that, the impact of SERP on Western Palm Beach County, which I guess.
So there are a lot of SERP projects that are being constructed in Western Palm Beach County, along with the remediation of the Herbert Hoover Dike, some of the stormwater treatment areas, some of the canal conveyance. But overall, I'm not sure I understand what the questioner is getting at. Most of Western Palm Beach County is agricultural.
Right,
it's part of the Everglades agricultural area.
Maybe they're asking how that will affect the current agriculture, perhaps the current density of agriculture there, or the communities there. I'm not sure either, but perhaps.
Yeah, so the current, the communities we're ensuring that all of the flood protection and water supply needs of those communities are being met. It's a requirement under the Comprehensive Everglades Restoration Plan that flood protection and water supply are maintained for the legal users that are part of the communities that are being impacted by projects.
Right. The questioner clarified what they were meaning was probably more central Palm Beach County, which is Boynton Beach and Delray. So I think that's what they're asking about, how SERP will affect those areas, Boynton Beach and Delray.
Okay. So those are kind of in the thick of the urban areas. So again, those areas in terms of flood protection and water supply, though their level of service is maintained as SERP projects are built and go into operation. So there aren't as many SERP projects in that area.
Right. Okay. By the way, the series we were told was called The Swamp, the one that aired on PBS. So it is something that everyone could look for, and it'll probably be rebroadcast once again. I think I've covered all the questions. I hope I haven't left anyone out. I'm trying to field them between both the Q&A and the chat. So hopefully I've caught them all. If I didn't, I apologize. And I just wanted to thank you so much, Jennifer, for being with us tonight and the great presentation and answering some where I felt some fairly difficult questions as well. So thank you so much for that.
Well, it was a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, and we hopefully maybe someday we can have you back again, and good luck in your work with the district. I'm sure you're going to be doing just as great work there as you did with the Army Corps. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, and so next month we're going to be meeting on Tuesday, October 6th at 7 p.m. And our speaker will be Rachel King, who will be speaking on caracaras of Florida. That should be a great presentation. I know that it requires you to usually drive out west to see the caracaras. But anyway, so Tuesday, October 6th at 7 p.m., Rachel King, caracaras of Florida. And until then, I hope everyone was comfortable, enjoyed the evening and the presentations. And we will see you next month, once again on our Zoomcast. And hopefully we'll have at least one less hiccup that we have to deal with. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.